You know that feeling when you're driving home, and your hands are sweating so hard they're slipping on the steering wheel but the AC is blasting at max? That was me 3 months ago. I was sitting in my car in our driveway staring at the front door of my own house, absolutely terrified to go inside. Not because of a monster or a burglar or some paranormal entity, but because of a 62-year-old woman named Evelyn who was probably inside, making Earl Grey tea and wearing a cashmere cardigan. It's funny how we think we know what a threat looks like. We think it's loud, aggressive, and obvious. But the real threats, they're quiet. They smile at you, they compliment your shoes, and they slowly, molecule by molecule, replace the oxygen in your life until you're suffocating and you don't even know why. My name is Marcus. I'm 32 and I work as a senior data analyst for a logistics firm based in Columbus, Ohio. It's a job that requires looking at numbers, finding patterns, and fixing systemic errors. I'm a logical guy. I don't believe in conspiracies and I don't scare easily. My wife Chloe is an interior designer. She's creative, incredibly sharp, and has this vibrant energy that fills up any room she walks into. We'd been married for 3 years, and up until last winter I genuinely believed we had the perfect marriage. We had just bought our first home, a beautiful, slightly outdated mid-century modern house in a quiet suburb. It needed some work, but it was ours, or so I thought. When Chloe and I first got serious, she warned me about her mother, Evelyn. She told me Evelyn was a lot to handle and deeply involved in her life. I didn't think much of it. Every guy complains about his mother-in-law. It's an American tradition, right? And for the first couple of years, Evelyn was fine. She lived about 40 minutes away in an upscale neighborhood. She was a wealthy widow, and she seemed to respect our boundaries. She'd come over for dinner, give us slightly passive-aggressive advice about our lawn, and leave. Standard stuff. But things started to shift right after we moved into the new house. It began with small things, unbelievably small. I'd come home from work and the kitchen chairs would be arranged differently. Not completely moved, just angled toward the window instead of the counter. I asked Chloe about it and she laughed. "Oh, Mom stopped by to drop off some Tupperware. She said the feng shui was off." Okay, no big deal. Then a week later, I couldn't find my favorite coffee mug. I searched everywhere. Eventually, I found it in the very back of the highest cabinet, hidden behind some vintage teacups. Chloe told me Evelyn had helped her reorganize the pantry while I was at the office. "She's just trying to help, Marcus. You know how she is. She has nervous energy," Chloe said, rinsing a plate. Her voice was light, but I noticed her shoulders were tight. I let it go, "It's just a mug," but then the helper attitude escalated into something more intrusive. Evelyn started showing up without calling. She had a key for emergencies, but apparently a rainy Tuesday afternoon counted as an emergency. I'd be sitting at my desk in my home office, deeply focused on a spreadsheet, and I'd suddenly hear the front door click open. Then the soft, rhythmic click of her low heels on the hardwood floor. Every time she came over, she brought things, not gifts exactly, projects. She'd bring a specific brand of organic laundry detergent and say, "Marcus, I noticed you use the commercial stuff. It's full of carcinogens. I replaced it for you." Or she'd bring a set of heavy, dark curtains and say, "The master bedroom gets too much morning light. It's ruinous for your circadian rhythm. Let's hang these." I started feeling like a guest in my own home. I told Chloe we needed to set some boundaries. We needed to ask for the key back. We sat down in the living room on a Friday night to talk about it. Chloe looked exhausted. When I brought up the key, she looked down at her hands, nervously twisting her wedding ring. "Marcus, please don't make a big deal out of this. You don't know what she's like when she feels rejected. She goes into these dark depressions. It's just easier to let her have her way with the house stuff. It makes her feel needed." "But it's our house, Chloe," I argued, keeping my voice calm but firm. "I don't like the feeling that someone is editing our life while we aren't looking." Chloe looked up and there was a flash of something in her eyes that I hadn't seen before. It wasn't anger at me, it was fear. "Just give it some time, please." So because I loved my wife, I agreed to let it slide for a bit. That was my first major mistake. I thought I was dealing with a classic, overbearing mother-in-law who couldn't let go of her daughter. I thought it was an emotional issue. I didn't realize it was a structural one. The real turning point happened in early March. I was working late on a quarterly budget review. It was around 11:00 p.m. and Chloe was already asleep upstairs. The house was dead quiet save for the occasional hum of the refrigerator. I needed a document from the filing cabinet we kept in the basement. Our basement was mostly unfinished, dark, and smelled like old concrete, the kind of place you only go when you absolutely have to. I went down the creaky wooden stairs, flipped on the overhead fluorescent bulb, and walked over to the metal cabinet. As I opened the bottom drawer to look for our tax folders, my knee bumped against a heavy cardboard box tucked away in the corner under the stairs. The box was taped shut, but the tape was old and peeling. On the side, in faded black marker, it said, "Evelyn Personal." Now, I'm not a snooper, I believe in privacy, but this box was in my basement and it looked like it had been moved here recently, likely during one of Evelyn's reorganizing sessions. Curiosity got the better of me. I pulled the flap back. Inside were notebooks, dozens of them. They were standard, spiral-bound school notebooks sorted by year. I picked up one from 2 years ago and opened it. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't a diary, it was a log. A highly detailed, meticulously organized log of Chloe's and my life. The handwriting was Evelyn's elegant cursive script. I flipped to a random page, October 14th. Marcus left for work at 7:42 a.m., wore the gray suit. Chloe ordered takeout from the Thai place at 6:15 p.m., spending $42.50. Marcus seemed irritable during the evening phone call, must monitor his stress levels. My heart started thumping against my ribs. I flipped to another page, closer to the present. February 3rd, replaced the bedroom curtains today. Marcus objected slightly, but Chloe managed him. Total household energy bill increased by 12% this month. Need to adjust the thermostat settings when they are out on Saturday. It got worse. She had charts. She had timelines of our arguments. She had copies of our bank statements. God knows how she got them, with certain expenses highlighted in yellow. There were notes on our grocery shopping habits, the frequency of our dates, even the times we turned off the lights in the evening. This wasn't just an annoying mother-in-law, this was surveillance. I sat there on the cold concrete floor of the basement for what felt like hours, flipping through the pages. My mind was racing. How was she getting all this information? Some of it she could see by just coming over, sure, but the exact spending amounts, the specific times I left for work when she wasn't there, the details of private conversations Chloe and I had in our living room. I stood up, feeling physically sick. I took the notebook from the current year, hid it under my laptop bag, and went upstairs. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet house, suddenly feeling like every wall had eyes. The next morning, I waited until Chloe went out to meet a client. As soon as her car pulled out of the driveway, I went to work. I'm a data guy. I look for the anomalies. If Evelyn knew things she shouldn't know, there had to be a pipeline of information. I started searching the house, truly searching it. I checked the smoke detectors, the electrical outlets, the light fixtures, nothing. Then I looked at the things Evelyn had brought into our home. I went into the living room and examined the smart thermostat she had gifted us for Christmas. It was a high-end model. I logged into our home Wi-Fi router's admin panel on my laptop to check the connected devices. I noticed an unfamiliar MAC address drawing a continuous stream of data. I traced it. It wasn't the thermostat itself. It was a small, black USB wall adapter plugged into the outlet right behind the television. An outlet Evelyn had insisted on moving a heavy armchair away from because of airflow. I pulled the adapter out. It looked totally normal, like a standard phone charger. But when I examined it closely under a desk lamp, I saw a microscopic pinhole lens near the USB port. It was a Wi-Fi-enabled hidden camera and microphone. My hands shook. I went to the kitchen. Behind the decorative plate she had placed on the top shelf, another one. In our master bedroom, hidden inside the lining of the heavy, dark curtains she had so graciously hung for us, a third one. She wasn't just checking in on us. She was live streaming our entire life. I sat down at the kitchen table, the three hidden devices sitting in front of me like tiny plastic beetles. My anger was burning hot, but beneath it, a cold realization was setting in. Why would she do this? It felt too extreme, too professional for just a crazy, controlling mother. There had to be something bigger. I remembered the notebooks in the basement. I ran back down, grabbed the current year's notebook, and started reading it again, but this time I wasn't looking at the daily logs. I was looking at the back pages. There was a section titled Financial Restructuring. As I read through the columns of figures, my blood ran cold. Evelyn hadn't just been tracking our spending, she was actively manipulating it. I saw notations about my company's logistics software. Evelyn owned a massive stake in a rival logistics firm, something I knew but had never thought twice about because she was a silent investor. But in her notes she had written, M project trajectory moving toward automated integration. If successful, his position becomes indispensable, must divert. Then I saw notes about Chloe's design business. See independent contracts increasing, financial independence imminent, contacted David to restrict her local commercial leads. David was the head of the local zoning and business development board, and a longtime family friend of Evelyn's. It hit me like a physical blow. Evelyn wasn't just a helicopter parent, she was treating our life like a corporate acquisition. She was actively sabotaging my career growth and Chloe's business to keep us financially dependent on her, ensuring Chloe would never leave her orbit and ensuring I would eventually fail and have to rely on her charity. She was systematically dismantling our autonomy piece by piece, using the data she gathered from our own home. And then came the final, crushing blow. I turned the page and found a copy of a legal document. It was a trust fund agreement established by Chloe's late father. It stated that Chloe was to inherit a massive sum of money, millions, upon her 30th birthday or upon her mother's medical incapacitation, unless Chloe was deemed emotionally or financially unstable by the trustee. And who was the sole trustee? Evelyn. The logs weren't just for her weird obsession. They were a dossier. She was building a case documenting every argument, every financial hiccup, every moment of stress, many of which she engineered herself to prove that Chloe was unstable, ensuring the trust money would remain under Evelyn's absolute control forever. Just as I realized this, I heard the front door click open. My heart leapt into my throat, the soft, rhythmic click of low heels on the hardwood floor. "Chloe, Marcus," Evelyn's voice called out, airy and pleasant. I stood up from the basement stairs, holding the notebook. I walked into the kitchen. The 3 hidden cameras were still sitting right there on the counter. Evelyn walked into the kitchen carrying a bag of organic groceries. She stopped dead in her tracks when she saw me. Her eyes went from my face down to the notebook in my hand and then to the devices on the counter. For a second, just a fraction of a second, I saw total, unadulterated panic in her eyes. The mask slipped. The sweet, concerned mother-in-law vanished, and in her place stood a cold, calculating strategist. But then she smiled. It was a chillingly calm, serene smile. She set the groceries down. "Marcus," she said smoothly, her voice dropping its usual high-pitched warmth, "you're home early." "What is this, Evelyn?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my best efforts to keep it steady. I pointed at the cameras. "What the hell is this?" She didn't flinch. She walked over to the island, leaned against it, and crossed her arms. "It's protection, Marcus. You and Chloe are young, you make mistakes, you don't know how to manage a household or a budget. I'm simply ensuring my daughter's future is secure. By spying on us, by sabotaging my job, by trying to prove your own daughter is crazy for a paycheck." I stepped closer to her, the anger completely taking over. "This is sick, it's illegal, I'm calling the police." Evelyn let out a short, quiet laugh. It wasn't a hysterical laugh, it was amused. "The police? On what grounds, dear? I bought this house. Or rather, my family's money provided the down payment. My name is on the secondary deed. I have every right to install security measures in a property I legally co-own. Check the paperwork you signed so quickly at the closing, Marcus." She was right. When we bought the house, we were short on the down payment, and Evelyn had offered to help, signing as a co-guarantor. I had been so grateful at the time. I hadn't realized I was signing away our privacy. "And as for Chloe's stability," Evelyn continued, her voice turning ice cold, "who do you think she will believe? Her husband of 3 years who is accusing her mother of a grand conspiracy, or the mother who has protected her entire life? If you bring this up, you will destroy your marriage. I will make sure of it." She looked at me, completely confident that she had won. She thought she had covered every angle. She thought I was just a data guy who could be bullied by legalities and threats. But she forgot one thing: I am a data guy. I know that once data is recorded, it doesn't just disappear. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. It was recording. It had been recording since I walked up the basement stairs. "You're right, Evelyn," I said, my voice completely calm now. "Chloe might not believe me, but she will believe you." I tapped the screen, stopping the recording, and immediately uploaded the audio file to a secure cloud drive. "And I don't think the trustee board of your late husband's estate will appreciate hearing a recording of you admitting to financial sabotage and fraud to manipulate a trust fund." The color completely drained from her face. The calm composure shattered. For the first time, Evelyn looked small. "You wouldn't," she whispered. "Try me," I said. "Here's what's going to happen. You are going to sign off on removing your name from this deed. You are going to sign over the full management of Chloe's trust to an independent third-party bank. And then you are going to walk out of this door and you are never, ever coming back. If I see you within a mile of my wife or this house, this audio file goes to the estate lawyers, the police, and every single one of your country club friends." She stared at me for a long, agonizing minute. Her hands were shaking so badly she had to grip the edge of the counter. She didn't say another word. She grabbed her purse, turned on her heel, and walked out of the house. The front door clicked shut behind her. When Chloe came home later that day, I sat her down. I didn't hide anything. I showed her the cameras, the notebooks, and I played her the recording. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, watching my wife's world shatter, watching her realize that the person who was supposed to love her unconditionally had been treating her like a chess piece was devastating. There were tears, there was denial, and then finally there was a quiet, fierce anger. It took months of legal battles, but Evelyn signed the papers. She had too much to lose: her reputation, her status, her freedom. She vanished from our lives completely. Chloe and I are still in that house. We didn't move. We chose to stay and rewrite the space. We ripped out the heavy curtains, we repainted the walls, and we changed every single lock. Sometimes I still look at the corners of the rooms or check the Wi-Fi router logs just to be sure. The paranoia takes a long time to fade, but we are free. I used to think that monsters were obvious, that control looked like shouting and locked doors. But now I know better. Sometimes control looks like a helping hand, a piece of advice you didn't ask for, and a smile from someone who says they only want what's best for you. Trust your gut. Because if something feels like it's slowly taking over your life, it probably is.